Welcome to Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, the captivating travel podcast that takes you on an extraordinary adventure around the world. I'm your host, Jill Dutton, and I am thrilled to be your guide through the mesmerizing tapestry of cultures, landscapes, and experiences that await us. Global Journeys with Jill Dutton is more than just a travel podcast. It's an exploration of humanity itself. Through the power of storytelling, we illuminate the lives of the remarkable individuals we encounter along the way. Whether it's through the eyes of a fishing guide, a distillery owner, a mixologist, a historian, chef, or even a farmer, each person we meet adds a rich layer to the narrative of culture and place. In this podcast, we embark on a transformative journey where the focus goes beyond the typical tourist attractions. Instead, we dive deep into the hearts and souls of the places we visit, uncovering the hidden gems and untold stories that make each destination truly unique. Join me as we venture off the beaten path, seeking authenticity, connection, and a deeper understanding of the world we inhabit. Together, we'll unravel the tapestry of cultures, one story at a time. Although my writing career began in the late 90s when I created and launched a wellness publication called Evolving Magazine, since 2015, I've worked as a travel writer on a mission to seek out the locally celebrated foods, liquor trends, outdoor activities, and stories of those I meet along the way. My work has been published in Wine Enthusiast, Afar, Woman's World, First for Women, Insider, Road Trippers, Modern Farmer, Chilled Magazine, and many more digital and print publications. I'm also the creator of Global Plates, The People We Meet, The Food They Eat, a syndicated column. Creating this podcast is the next step in my journey of sharing the stories of the people I've met along the way. So pack your curiosity, leave your preconceived notions behind, and let's embark on Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, where each episode promises to inspire, educate, and awaken the wanderlust within us all. This episode of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton continues a series that looks at the culture, food and drinks, fishing, and beauty of Ketchikan, Alaska. In the first episode, we met Sean Heisman, owner of Ketchikan's only craft brewery, and in the second episode, we took a deep dive into fishing with Chuck Baird. Be sure and go to the show index to listen to these exciting glimpses at Ketchikan and its residents. In this week and next week's episodes, we meet native people from Tlingit tribes. It promises to be two remarkable journeys to the enchanting city of Ketchikan, where history, nature, and the vibrant Tlingit culture intertwine. Nestled amid the misty landscapes of Alaska, Ketchikan isn't just a picturesque destination, it's a living testament to the resilience of the Tlingit culture, which has flourished here for generations. The story of Ketchikan is one of transformation, from a fishing camp to a thriving community that honors its past while embracing the future. The Tlingit culture, rich with tradition, artistry, and spiritual significance, has thrived in this region for countless generations. Through their exquisite totem poles that stand tall like guardians of history, intricate regalia, and mesmerizing dances that echo the heartbeat of their ancestors, the Tlingit people have woven an intricate tapestry that we have the privilege to unravel today. Together, we'll walk in the footsteps of the Tlingit people, exploring the centuries-old traditions that have endured against the test of time. We'll witness the harmony between the Tlingit way of life and the breathtaking landscapes that have shaped their identity. Join us as we delve into the stories etched into the walls of the Totem Heritage Center and share moments of awe as we encounter the majestic misty fjords where nature whispers its secrets. The Ketchikan series continues this week, where we'll meet Joe Williams Jr., who was born and raised in Saxman, Alaska. He is of Tlingit descent and is from the Eagle tribe within the Tlingit tribe. Joe was the first Tlingit Alaska native to be elected as mayor of Ketchikan Gateway Borough and previously served as the City of Saxman mayor, making him the first elected official to hold both the borough and city mayoral positions in the state of Alaska. Joe also served as Saxman's tribal president for 12 years and on the Alaska Intertribal Council and National Congress of American Indians. During his career, Joe has brought people and organizations together for the betterment of Alaska's native communities and people. Joe has also owned and operated his own tour company, Where the Eagle Walks, for 31 years. He offers historical walking tours through Ketchikan and lectures on cruise ships and at other venues, weaving together history and stories about life as a Tlingit in Southeast Alaska. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Joe Williams Jr. to Global Journeys with Jill Dutton. Joe, thank you for joining us today and sharing your insights on the Tlingit culture as well as your Where the Eagle Walks tours. We can't wait to embark on this incredible journey with you. Hi, Joe.
Hi,
Hey, how are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you very much.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here today. I really am looking forward to hearing your story and learning more about what you do in Ketchikan.
Okay,
If you're ready, we'll go ahead and get started then.
go right ahead.
Okay. Can you tell me a bit about yourself and your background and really what inspired you to start Where the Eagle Walks in Ketchikan?
Well, I always like to say, I was born at a very early age, born in Ketchikan because that was the only hospital that was closest to us, but raised in Saxman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the baby of four. I have two older sisters and one older brother. Fast forward to the why was I inspired to do walking tours? There is a company, small company, earlier years, Alaska Sightseeing,
Mm-hmm.
was going through Ketchikan. The local manager had asked me if I'd be willing to do walking tours, and she explained to me that walking tours are being sold on board ship because they were encouraged by a company locally to do walking tours. And as it turned out, when it came time for the rubber to meet the road, they couldn't find somebody to do the tours.
Mm-hmm.
So she had stated that if they don't sell walking tours on board their ships, they'll look like they don't know what they're doing. So she asked, "What do you think?" I
Yes.
said, "Sure, I'll do it. I'd be happy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the script?" And she said, "Joe, you were born and raised here. Tell them what it's like to be living in Ketchikan." So that was the beginning. And what I told Karen at the time was that I'll be happy to do it, but I'll give you 2 weeks. Well, that's
Uh-huh.
31 years ago.
Oh
And
my
I
goodness.
had opportunity to meet with Karen just briefly. She was attending a conference here in Ketchikan. She's presently living on Prince of Wales. And after we got through the pleasantries of how things are going and so on and so forth, I said, "Well, Karen, I want you to know this past summer, I just finished my first week." And she gave me that puzzled look like she didn't know what I was talking about. And
Oh.
she said, 2 weeks? She said, first week for what? I said, "Remember, I promised you for 2 weeks I'd do the walking tours." And she just bursted laughing. And so basically, everything that I share on the tour is just stuff that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And things that I didn't know. I certainly did my research to find, and the only reason they arose because folks were asking the questions. If I get a question I can't answer, I always tell the folks I don't know the answer,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I make sure the next time I'll look it up and see, depending upon where I need to look.
Okay.
So,
Well, and that actually it leads to my next question. So you have this rich history as a Tlingit Indian and with the strong connections to Saxman, as you said. So I'm curious how your heritage influenced the experiences that you offer through Where the Eagle Walks.
well, I make it a point on the tour that we're following the original beach from the Ketchikan, but on that tour, I make it a point to talk about Tlingit culture before we get to the totem poles.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to have a clear understanding of what the totem poles really mean and why they're carved to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that unless you have a somewhat of a understanding of Tlingit culture makeup. So I spend probably 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes talking about the Tlingit culture specifically.
Okay, so then what would a typical an experience be for someone who's taking one of your tours? First, you talk about the cultural experience, and then you visit the totems. Is that correct?
Yes. Following the pretty much not in depth, but it is pretty below the surface, if you will, of the Tlingit culture. Then we go talk about totem poles, and I tell them how they came into its inception in the earlier days, and how they were ordered and form of payment, and how they were raised, and how things are really different in today's world. So I explained that to them, and it gives them a better understanding of how expensive a totem pole can and will be.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I'm asked about the colors. A lot of people are looking for meaningful things. Any little thing that's different on the totem pole, they ask, what's the meaning of that? That's depending upon what they're pointing to. I always tell them mostly it's decorative. It's just something that part of that bear clan, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
or part of the raven, or part of the eagle. So that gives them a better understanding.
Oh, how interesting.
Okay, well, that gives them a better understanding of the culture,
Mm-hmm.
and that is tied to the totem poles. And I always make it a point to say that not everyone has a totem pole because of the expense. Expense in the earlier days is different than expense in today's world.
Mm-hmm. How so?
Because oftentimes people ask, so what kind of work would you have done during that time? Because they're looking for a career. What I explain is we're not looking for a career in the earlier days. We're looking to survive.
Mm-hmm. My goodness. Well, thank you for that. And from all those tours that you have done, do any of them in particular stand out?
Just a lot of the what I appreciate about the tours always is that the more questions they ask,
Mm-hmm.
the more they'll better understand our community. And I encourage that always throughout the entirety of the tour. So the memorable events early on, around 2005, 2008, a lot of the discussion of the memorable events of that was centered around then former Governor Sarah Palin.
Mm-hmm.
And she became very popular because she's running for vice president. A lot of the questions was, did you ever meet Sarah Palin?
Uh-huh.
The answer like that is, of course, yes. And I also cover that with anybody in Alaska knows firsthand, first name basis, and a lot of times just by sight, their political leaders, because yes, Alaska is a very large community, but basically it's very small.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
Then I ask how many folks have met their senators, and most always I don't get any hands at all.
Uh-huh.
What about House representatives? And again, most always no hands at all. As well, I've met my senators and House representatives, and have had them to my house for dinner. And usually I try not to spend too much time on that particular vein of information, because it takes away from the historical part of Ketchikan.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the historical part of Ketchikan, can you share something with us as far as, what someone might hear during one of the tours, or just something that you could share as far as the cultural and historical background?
Well, always the historical part is that Ketchikan was founded because of salmon.
Mm-hmm.
It was the salmon industry for years, and then it wasn't until 1953, 52, neck of the woods, we became a timber community. And the timber community lasted until 1979 or 1997, excuse me. Ketchikan would not be as advanced as it is today had it not been for the timber industry.
Mm-hmm.
They invested quite a bit of funds to upgrade our community. So now Ketchikan is a seasonal community at best because of the tourism. Tourism
Mm-hmm.
is seasonal. Like it or not, we're a seasonal community.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you've held notable positions such as Ketchikan Gateway Borough Mayor, City of Saxman Mayor, and Tribal President of the Village of Saxman. How have these roles informed your approach to tourism and community engagement?
What has occurred early on, gosh, it had to have been in the late 90s when I received this question. This is when I knew people were becoming more educated about Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, people were of the opinion land of ice and snow and Eskimos, and didn't give it a lot of thought of the Indian people, Aleut people, and I've always made it a a point that now that you're in Alaska, we have 7 distinct ethnic groups.
Mm-hmm.
The part that brings me to that is when a lady asked me this question. She said, I cannot get my head wrapped around what the difference between a tribe, a federally recognized tribe, a corporation, a village corporation. I just can't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I came to the understanding that this lady has done her homework. Yes, she
Yeah.
doesn't understand it, but now she at least knows about it.
Right.
And I contribute that to the internet world because she's doing her research.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and I just explained to her that it would take more time to explain. We can do that after the tour, and that's exactly what I did. And it took about 40 minutes, as I anticipated, it'd be about an hour to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
it gives me the opportunity to talk firsthand about what it means to be a political leader as far as the borough is concerned, city leader as far as the city of Saxon is concerned, and a tribal member. And when I was explaining the difference between the tribes, there are 567 federally recognized tribes in the United States, and of that, there are 229 of them right here in Alaska.
Oh, okay.
And the tribes of the Tlingit, eagle and the raven, has nothing to do with that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the tribes that are named accordingly to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, each village, each community in Alaska has received a tribal recognition, a federally recognized tribal position. That's why we have 229 federally recognized tribes. With that, I say what that means for Alaska, just the tribal presence brings in between 500 and 600 million dollars to Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
would not be coming here had it not been for the federal recognition of federally recognized tribes.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you
And,
for that. Thank you so
and
much.
sometimes that's a whole lot more information that they were looking for, but they have to come to that understanding to understand the bigger picture.
I
So
agree. I agree. Thank you. And as a travel destination, since this is a travel podcast as well, what advice do you have for travelers who are interested in experiencing Ketchikan and its cultural heritage in a meaningful way? Obviously, take your tour, but are there
yeah,
any other advice that you have for travelers?
what would be important in my mind for the traveler would be to come to Alaska as they would ordinarily do on a cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
And they spend briefly hours in each of the communities. Then I would encourage them to plan an in depth trip,
Yes.
flying into the community and spending. I always tell them to spend a minimum of 5 days in Ketchikan. You could spend 2 days in Wrangell, 1 day in Petersburg, good 7 days in Juneau, 2 days, maybe 3 days in Sitka,
Mm-hmm.
and you could spend a day in Glacier Bay and perhaps a day in maybe even more in Yakutat if you're going to go fishing, and the same with Haines and Skagway, at least 1 day in each place.
Nice.
So that takes a lot of planning. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Easily eat up a month doing that.
Right. Oh, I agree. But it would be a well worth the effort to plan something like that out in advance. So over the years, you must have witnessed changes in the travel industry in Ketchikan in particular. How do you see the future of travel and how is Where the Eagle Walks adapting to these changes?
The changes early on wasn't major, and it was the visitor industry to the community of Ketchikan
Mm-hmm.
was more of a pain in the neck than it was profitable
Right.
to the folks who were not involved in it, primarily because we were a timber community at that particular time. And since the closure of the Ketchikan Pulp Company, I say, praise God, we had tourism.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a fallback, if you will. And it's taken some time to get to where we are and keep in terms of our major industry, which is timber, closed in 97. And it wasn't probably till 2015, maybe even 17, that we began, in my mind, the community was feeling comfortable about where we were financially.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the pandemic happened, and that devastated the community like any other community. But what occurred over the course of the years, about 15 years ago, we had a meeting, a community meeting, to talk about what we need to prepare for tourism. And what was projected at that particular time was that we were going to, there are ships being built, what they said, as we speak, ships are being built to accommodate between 4,000 to 5,500 passengers.
Mm.
And the present infrastructure, as far as docks are concerned, is not adequate to accommodate.
Okay.
And so we need to change about receiving those larger cruise ships.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was probably 100 of us, and most everyone was pretty excited because what was projected at that particular time, we'd have between 14 and 16,000 extra people in the city of Ketchikan for more than 120 days.
Oh my goodness.
And when it came my turn to speak, I pretty much said, you know, I, like everybody else in this room, receive all the funds for the whole balance of the year from tourism.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know, we as a community need to decide when enough is enough.
Mm.
I said, you folks, do you really want 16,000 extra people in the community of Ketchikan for more than 120 days? Do you really want that? In my mind, I would say no. We need to draw the line, because the unique experience of Ketchikan that had at the time, no longer today, was a very small community, very excited about the arrival of the visitors.
Yes. Yes.
And so with that, when I got done speaking, it was as if I didn't say a word.
Oh, you're kidding.
They all went back to all the money that they're going to make by having 16,000 people in the community. And you know, now that it's here, I mean, today we had 16,400 people here today. You know, you're standing in line 15 minutes to pay for an item that you want to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where's the positive experience in that? That's the challenge that I have.
It is a challenge for any destination that ends up being, you know, a tourist destination. I do understand what you're saying, and I was there on the 4th of July last year, and it was just massive crowds and so busy. But I know it's a common problem of, you know, if it's a tourist destination, do we want the tourists to come, or, you know, do we keep that inclusive small community feel, or how do we? So I feel for what you're having to just, you know, so no one accepted what you said.
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all. And I think they're getting the picture now. I think that they are, because it's been stated, you know, off the hand of, this is just way too many people. When we have 16,000, when we have 14,000, just way too many people.
Right. Finally, I'm just curious, are there any topics that I didn't ask you about that you might want to discuss?
One of the things that I do pride myself in, and that is I do personalized tours. And these are folks, they contact me because of my webpage,
Mm-hmm.
and they ask me if we can do things differently than what is put out there. And I say, you know, when you come to Ketchikan and when you come to Saxman, it's all about you. You can do whatever you wish you want to do. Please know, I never boast about being the very best in the community. I have folks do that for me. I just don't do that. I just think it's not right.
Right.
Yeah. And so, but I certainly do private tours and give them just what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between me and the next guy is that the next guy, if they don't live here in community, has to study,
Right.
and has to read about it and not experience it. I experience it, you know, it's really different.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, Joe, thank you so very much for being here today. I really appreciate you sharing your story and a little bit of insight into where the eagle walks. And just, I can't wait to come back to Ketchikan again. But so, any final thoughts?
First of all, I appreciate you calling me to be able to talk about one thing I'm really excited about every day. And please know, as I think about it, my excitement about doing tours for Where the Eagle Walks is as fresh as the first day I begin.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm always excited to see the new visitors come and ask their questions, which could have been asked 10 times that day, but you know what? They don't know. So they ask. And that's what I ask them to do, to please ask. So that's what I'm excited about. And I actually, because I do have a Facebook page, Where the Eagle Walks, I tell them that I'm going to post the pictures that are taken of you so that help you remember your visit here to Ketchikan.
Oh,
Because I
that's
follow the route
fantastic.
that we take. So
Yes. And I'll be sharing your website address in the show notes so listeners can find you there as well. Well, Joe, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I really appreciate you speaking with us today.
okay, have a good day.
Indigenous-owned businesses like Joe Williams Jr.'s Where the Eagle Walks play a pivotal role in preserving traditions and fostering economic growth. These businesses not only contribute to the local economy, but also serve as ambassadors of cultural heritage. Where the Eagle Walks offers both walking and driving tours. An example of one of the tours that introduces visitors to the Tlingit history and traditions is the Ketchikan Historic Walking Tour with Tlingit-style snack and narrative of Tlingit history and traditions. There, you'll gain a unique understanding of Ketchikan and its Tlingit culture on a guided walking tour of Alaska's first city. Your guide is of Alaska Native descent and will share personal knowledge of the many changes Ketchikan has experienced over the years. The significance of totem poles within the Native culture will be explained as you encounter them on your journey. Travel up infamous Creek Street, the former red light district, and learn of its important economic role in Ketchikan's early history. Walk up historic Married Man's Trail and hear how it received its name. Discover the astounding journey salmon must encounter as they head up to their spawning grounds and see the salmon ladder. Trees, shrubbery, and flowers are plentiful along the route, and your guide will share their importance to the Tlingit's food gathering practices. We'll travel from Creek Street by tram to the Cape Fox Lodge, a rustic hotel owned by the Tlingits, where your guide will give a narrative of Tlingit customs and traditions. You will enjoy a delicious Tlingit-style snack of Indian fried bread, smoked salmon, reindeer sausage, blueberry jam, coffee, tea, and water. Questions are encouraged on the tour, as your host wants you to leave Ketchikan with a better understanding of the community and its native culture. As we travel on this exciting podcasting journey together, I invite you, our incredible audience, to be a part of it. Share your own travel stories, insights, and recommendations with us. Whether you have a hidden gem in your hometown or a dream destination that has captured your imagination, we want to hear from you. Your suggestions will help shape the future episodes of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, guiding us towards extraordinary locations and experiences that deserve a spotlight. Remember, this podcast is not about just the host or the guests. It's about the collective exploration and discovery that unites us all as wanderers in this vast world. So reach out to us through our website, social media channels, or email and let your voice be heard. Send your suggestions to me at jill@globaljourneyswithjilldutton.com. I can't wait to hear from you. Until next time, may your travels be filled with endless curiosity, open-hearted encounters, and transformative adventures. Safe travels, fellow explorers, and keep wandering.